You see, that's what puts the eternalness in eternity. If everything already existed and nothing more was expanding, it would all cease to be, and pretty darn quick. It is the further reaching, it is the expansiveness that is the promise of what humans want to call future.
It has to expand to exist? It can't just, it can't all just be there and we observe. It has to expand to exist. Look at any
aspect of it. Look at a plant and notice constant new growth. And if new growth ceases, the plant ceases to exist. Look at the cells of your own body. If you are not generating new cells, you would cease to be. You would wither and cease to be in the form that you know as you. Expansion is necessary for existence, and that's why you all so eagerly come forth from your non-physical existence of connection and alignment. You eagerly come forth into more variety in this leading edge time-space reality, because the contrast inspires the new idea constantly. The new idea, the new idea. And even what you might not even call a new idea. In other words, you don't have to express it in words. You just stand in a place that is less than satisfying and you automatically request something more satisfying. All of us do. All of you do. Even one-celled organisms do. You see?
Yes.
So really, what this conversation may be about, which would make it a more satisfying conversation, is perception. And that is the thing that makes us utter so many concepts to our human friends who are trying to sort this out, because there is the perspective from source and there is this perspective from physical, and unless you have a sense and are able to blend your human perspective with the broader perspective, then none of this really makes very much sense. We don't just mean none of what we say makes very much sense, but your life in general cannot make much sense if you don't, from time to time and hopefully frequently, don the perspective of the broader you, who really knows who you are and understands the big picture.
Yeah. People have been trying to do that since the beginning of time.
Yes.
Hence the made-up religions and all this kind of thing.
Well, what happens with that is there is a human tendency, nothing wrong with it, that wherever you stand, you want to explain how you got there.
Yes.
And what we're encouraging you to do is, rather than explaining how you got here, enjoy what has resulted as a result of being here and reach forward to the feeling of the expansion. In other words, we notice that most humans are so enamored with their ability to translate their physical experience into what they see and hear and smell and taste and touch, that they are just hooked on reality, which is holding them back from the reality that they would prefer. Mm-hmm. And so that is the reason that we constantly are explaining to you that you are vibrational beings. You have another sensor. You are not just perceivers through your physical senses. We want you to be perceivers through your vibrational sensor. And your vibrational sensor is your emotion. And the reason that that vibrational sensor is so important is because it's giving you constant moment by moment by moment feedback about the relationship between the perception of your physical now reality and the perception of who you really are and all that you've become. And if you just accept the existence of those two vibrational aspects, and then you factor in the emotion, which is the indicator of the relationship, how much you're letting yourself be who you are or how much you are depriving yourself of the wholeness of who you are, once you get those pieces into place cognitively, then what begins to happen is that more often than before, you are able to deliberately move yourself into vibrational sync with that broader aspect. And then you get to, in your now, live all that you've become. You see, everything that is physically manifested is lagging behind who you have actually become. And that lag is what negative emotion is. Negative emotion is your indication that you're lagging behind who you really are and who you've really become. That's why historians just drive each other crazy. They drive themselves crazy. Historians, anyone who's exploring the now, exploring the now, exploring the now, talking about what is happening in terms of manifestation, that's all past tense. As for your physical manifested now is past tense as far as the broader God, source, non-physical inner being point of view is.
Because all we have is now. There's really no past, no future.
Well, now,
anything happens
now. Let's talk about now in the way we want to talk about now, because you could talk about now, I have a disease, or I have an unhappy relationship, or I have a big pile of money, now. But when we talk about now, we're talking about your vibrational reality that you have set forth that may or may not have manifested. In other words, your vibrational reality is the now where we stand, and it's the now where Source is always calling you. Because until you allow yourself to be a vibrational match to the furthest most part of you, you're lagging behind, and lagging behind feels like negative emotion. Let's go back to the subject of perception.
Yeah, well, I get all that.
Because we know you get it. We're just enjoying where we're going with this. And so we're... Let's go back to the subject of perception. It's like Esther lost a gold pen that she wanted, but she convinced herself, because of looking everywhere she thought it might be and not being able to find it, she convinced herself it was lost. And once she came to the decisive conclusion that her pen was lost, even though it was in a very findable place, she couldn't find it. She couldn't perceive it, because you cannot experience or manifest beyond the boundaries of your expectation. So what this gathering is really about is helping you to broaden the boundaries of your expectation to include your inner being, who stands as the keeper of the vibrational reality that you have already set forward. It's why it is so exhilarating for us to visit with our human friends who have put so much into what they're calling future, but what we're calling now. In other words, this cycle of life is exhilarating. And we might add, just for fun, it exists for the pleasure that it gives all of us. In other words, not one bit of it needs to be, but it bees because it is joyous to behold.
And that helps everybody in this place vibrate at closer to their now, or the now? Is it is it our individual nows, or is it? Well, now is now.
Now is now out here in the middle of the ocean, and now is now on the other side of the world. And
well,
now
you said now is when you catch up with yourself, with your vibration.
Now is now, and your relationship to who you are is happening now, and your perception of that relationship is happening now. In other words, now is the powerful juncture where you meet you, and the emotion you feel is the indicator of how well the meeting is going. Okay. So, as you meet you and you feel joyful, you've really met you. You've integrated with you. The whole of you is flowing through you in a very powerful way. But when you meet you and you feel rotten, the meeting isn't going well, because you've got vibrational habits going on that are preventing you from really merging with who you really are. You've got your radio dial set on 106 AM while your inner being is set on something else, and you're not hearing, you're not knowing, you're not feeling.